There will not be a ball kicked in the Vanarama National League for another 2 months yet. However, preparation is well underway for many clubs across the country, but none more so than my team, Gateshead FC. So let's have a chat about everything that's been going on in the last few days or so at Gateshead. And in the spirit of getting ready for the new 2023 to 2024 season, I'm bringing my channel into 2023 to 2024 mode as well. So, roll the new titles. So with a video like this, I think there is only, of course, one place to start, and that is with the new recruits. And the players that we are bringing in are bringing some widespread praise from various fans of other clubs across the country. And so let's have a little bit of a chat about who's come in. And first up, in terms of new arrivals, there's two totally new faces at the International Stadium for next season, one of which is Regan Booty, who arrives from Maidstone United, obviously a team that really struggled last season, obviously finished bottom of the league by an absolute mile, but he was definitely the standout player, a player that many thought could have a move to at least stay in the National League, and that is something that has come to fruition. And by the sounds of it, we have beaten off some competition from the National League as well. I believe Halifax are interested. Whispers that maybe Chesterfield and Oldham were potentially interested as well. But I guess that is a real positive in terms of the recruitment drive for Gateshead, the fact that he has chosen to come to us. And I think he could be a real asset to us, obviously a midfielder that knows how to dictate the game. I mean, no disrespect to that Maidstone team of last season, but I imagine obviously he will have tried to have provided a bit of service, but ultimately it is about the quality around him. But I think like with the players he's got around him now, he could like be someone that you maybe see chip in with maybe 5 or 10 goals in the season, maybe about 10 to 15 assists or something like that. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And also arriving at Gateshead is Jordan Hunter, who has been at South Shields for the last few seasons. And by the sounds of it, is a player that Shields are very disappointed to see go. Obviously, a player that one or two thought could even have stepped up into the AFL. So very good capture from us there. It'll be interesting to see if he can sort of make that step up from playing in the Northern Premier League to the National League, because obviously it's going to be a big step up. I mean, I think he probably knows that better than anyone, but again, could be a real positive asset for us. And as well as a couple of new arrivals, there's a fair few returning players as well, one of which is Ed Francis, a player we had on loan from Notts County at the back end of the season just gone. And I think, obviously he was a little bit sort of quiet to start with, but as he sort of grew into it, he really did show his quality, and was a massive part of the reason why we stayed up fairly comfortably in the end. And the same can also go for Callum Whelan, who's arrived on a permanent deal from Solihull Moors. When he came in February, again, real asset. Just not the sort of player that does anything sort of too fancy, but maybe the sort of midfield anchorman that is maybe needed. So great to see him back. And as well, Stephen Wern, a bit of a late arrival into the season. Obviously came in back end of March when the non-league transfer window was closing. But a player of real quality, and one that I'm really looking forward to having for the full season. Well, hopefully a full season. Obviously, in at this level, like if you're putting in genuinely good performances week in, week out, eventually teams at a high level can poach you. But all the same, sort of glad that we've managed to secure his services for the time being at the very least. I mean, hopefully it will be the full season, but really glad to have him on board as well. A really positive start to the summer transfer window so far. And in terms of players that are staying on, I guess the big news is that Greg Ollie has signed a new 2-year deal. A player that pretty much every summer gets linked with moves to National League clubs that are obviously bigger in terms of club stature and obviously have a bit more money behind them as well, and as well to various EFL clubs. But he's committed his future to Gateshead for another 2 years, and the good thing about that is if anyone wants him in that 2 years, obviously they're going to have to pay up, and I think the club know that there might be quite a lot of interest in him, so it's a really smart move by the club. So if God forbid God forbid he does go win that time, at least we're going to get a bit of money for it. In terms of outgoings, I'd say obviously the big news is that Dan Ward and Owen Bailey have both left the club and will move on to pastures new. But honest to God, I don't begrudge either of them of anything, because they have both been quite simply superb servants to this football club over the last couple of years. I mean, it's sad to see them go. I mean, obviously, both just genuine, down-to-earth, nice lads, and but obviously as well, very good footballers as well. And the next teams that have them are going to be very lucky to have the services. I mean, the talk is that Oldham are going to be in for Ward, and there's whispers that maybe Hartlepool are going to go in for Owen Bailey. So, good luck to them, obviously, apart from when they do come up against Gateshead in future. But as I say, wish them both all the best. They deserve all the luck in the world in the future. So that is probably the main talking points in terms of who's staying, who's obviously gone, and who's coming in. But there's still obviously a long way to go in terms of the between now and the start of the season. But if you look sort of around social media and what have you, the talk is that there's going to be a goalkeeper coming in, which is probably needed. I know there's still talks going on between the club and James Montgomery. Obviously, Philip Marshall's loan has finished and he has returned to Aston Villa. But if we can get sort of a goalkeeper in, that'd be ideal. Whether that's as a replacement for Monty or just someone to give him a bit of competition. I think that could sort of prove quite well for us. Obviously, I remember in the 2017-18 season, Monty was being challenged quite heavily for that number one spot by Dan Hanford. But it proved to be healthy competition. I think they both sort of drove each other on, and that really benefited the club at that time as well. So it'd be interesting to see who that new goalkeeper is. I believe there's a centre-half coming in, which I think is a position that we've been needing to improve on for the last couple of years, to be honest. I mean, don't get me wrong, Kenton Richardson's come in and he's done very well in that position. Obviously, Ethan Pye played there for quite a long time last season. But obviously, he unfortunately was recalled by Stockport just before the FA Trophy final. But I think if we can have someone that's maybe like a bit more permanent there, that's probably more their natural position, that could really prove to be vital, really. And I believe we're looking at forwards to bring in, which again, obviously last season it was touched upon pretty much week after week just how much of a blow it was that last summer we lost Kedwin Scott and we lost Macaulay Langstaff as well. I mean, not that there was any realistic chance of us being able to keep hold of those two players anyway, but I mean, it'd be interesting to see. Obviously, we've got Marcus Denanga at the club. I still think we yet to see the best of Aaron Martin. I think all he needs is maybe a decent sort of pre-season under his belt and a few goals in pre-season and to stay relatively injury-free as well. I just think he just needs more of a sort of consistent run of fitness more than anything, and that's maybe when his confidence might come back and we might see him grab a few more goals. So it's going to be an interesting few weeks. I mean, the best sort of accounts to follow, obviously, Matty Hewitt, Mark Carruthers, just people out on social media. I mean, obviously there's only X amount that they can actually lead on, but they do sort of do a very good job at keeping you in loop in terms of who's could be coming into Gateshead and what have you. But I guess the big question is where will Gateshead finish in the league next season? What sort of season will it be? I mean, personally, at this moment in time, I think it's too early to tell. But saying that, I do think they're even given the fact that other clubs are still to do their business yet. I mean, I think obviously Chesterfield, maybe Hartlepool, obviously a good manager there in John Askey. But even the clubs that have been sort of there or thereabouts over the last few years, like say your Bromleys and what have you. I think even then, I still think there's enough in this Gateshead team to potentially push on for the top half. I mean, I know Mike doesn't particularly like to set specific targets. He always sort of goes into it as nothing sort of more important than the next game or the next training session. It's always a one day at a time kind of thing. He says it over and over again, trust the process and what have you. I mean, I had my doubts sort of early part of last season, but I think he's more than earned the trust of the fans now. I think just think how well things actually went in the second half of the season. I think the first half of the season was a learning curve for him as a manager at National League level as well. I think once he adapted to it, the team adapted to it, and it was a totally different kettle of fish. But there's one or two suggesting we might be up in the playoffs or what have you. But I think we just got to take it one step at a time. As I said, Mike isn't one to set any specific targets, but the quality's there, and I'd personally at this moment in time be extremely disappointed if we do find ourselves in any sort of realistic relegation trouble. I mean, obviously the league table from the season just gone will always show that we're well clear of relegation, but for a long time that wasn't the case. We just had went on a bit of a mad one towards the end. But if we can have sort of a season, maybe sort of without those worries, maybe push on for top half, and maybe have a decent run in the FA Cup and maybe a decent run in the FA Trophy again, I'd gladly take that. I don't think this season needs to be anything spectacular. I think it is this journey we are on is just sort of one step at a time, and but it's going to be very, very interesting. You can't rule anything out with Gateshead Football Club, and I think that's something that we've all learned, especially over these last 5 years or so. So really excited for this season, and speaking of that, there is of course a few games that we will be playing before the 5th of August, and they are of course pre-season friendlies. And last night the club announced the schedule for pre-season, and that will begin on Tuesday the 4th of July with a trip to Hebburn Town. So a bit of a game that's become something of an annual tradition, hasn't it? Obviously Hebburn massively helped us out when we were booted out at the international stage, letting us train at their ground, what have you. So a club, so a lot of mutual respect between the clubs, which is always great to see. And Tuesday a great night, so I probably will go along to that one. Then on Saturday the 8th, it is a visit from Championship side Sunderland. That is a game I won't be able to go to. They've got a family event that day that's getting in the way. But if I'm totally honest, I probably wouldn't have. I may well have even hit it on the head anyway, because my main worry with that game is you're just going to get like a lot of Newcastle fans show up, make it all about them, and there'd be quite a bit of trouble. And the bottom line is, it's the good reputation of Gateshead that would be tarnished for that. So I've never been a fan of playing like Newcastle or Sunderland in pre-season, I must say. But nevertheless, if you are going, I hope you enjoy it. It sounds like there is going to be a good crowd there, so bit of revenue for the club, which is of course never a bad thing. Then the following week, which would be Saturday the 15th, the club say it's going to be a home game, but sort of the opponent of that is to be confirmed. I mean, looking around sort of various clubs that haven't got sort of games penciled in for that day, I mean, it could be, Carlisle or Barrow or someone like that. So it's going to be interesting to see who that is. Whether I go to that game or not depends on the draw for the Viaplay Cup. Obviously, if Motherwell are playing either at home that day or it's an away game that I quite fancy, and I'm going to go to that. I mean, at the end of the day, some of my views now towards pre-season are that truthfully a lot of the games are a total waste of your time and money. I mean, if I fancy it, I'll go to it, but certainly not a priority. Like, I'd rather just sort of save that money for Gateshead's competitive away games and for the next season's European trips. Obviously, the S is in brackets because it might be just a one again, but I might be able to sort of sneak 2 or 3, and you never know. You can never rule anything out, can you? But the next game after that will be on Friday, the 21st of July, another annual tradition, and it is away to Dunstan. I probably will go along to that one. Again, it's one of those annual traditions that I've actually come to quite like. I mean, I obviously didn't particularly enjoy the result there last year, but yeah, very nice little club, and looking forward to it. I mean, we've been on a Friday night as well. Like, I absolutely love Friday night football. We've had a long week at work, and that once you sort of leave that office and the next thing you're doing is going to the football, it's actually quite a satisfying feeling. So looking forward to that, actually. Then Tuesday the 25th is a visit from League Two side Harrogate Town. Again, not sure if I'll be at this one or not. Obviously, I sort of live down towards Teesside, don't I? So it's for a friendly, is it really worth sort of all the hassle getting there and back on a Tuesday night? I'm not too sure. But like, again, it's not totally ruled out. But then Saturday the 29th is a game I won't be at, and that is away to South Shields. Obviously, that day you've got the Northern League starting, and the last couple of times we've played Shield in a friendly, it's not been the most enjoyable of experience. I don't think that's anything to do with Shields as a club. I just think it's one of those fixtures that unfortunately attracts idiots. Not really one I'm sort of in any mad rush to go to, but all the same, if you are going, I hope you enjoy it, and fingers crossed we can get a good result to go into the new season. So that is pretty much where we're at in terms of where Gateshead are just now. But as I said, alluded to at the end of the Motherwell versus Dundee United video, in terms of my last game of last season, or the season just gone, or this season, depending on which way you're looking at it, the channel's not sort of going to be sitting in limbo for like a couple of months. Obviously, there'll be more sort of videos like this where I'm sort of discussing sort of what's to come going into new season. There'll be when the fixtures come out, I'll do a reaction video to those. In the week before the league season starts, I will do my official National League table prediction. So that could be an interesting one. Like, it'd be interesting to see if you agree with me or not. But looking forward to making it all the same. And as well, there's going to be various sort of discussion type videos. Like, obviously, you remember September. I did the Durham City one, which caused a bit of a stir. Like a certain Mr. Tanner wasn't happy with me for it, but there'll be more like that. Like, just obviously, I want to sort of have a bit of sort of give a bit of insight to sort of what went down at Gateshead when Joe Collar and Ranjan were at the club. What it was like before that, what it was like after. I want to have a little bit of a sort of look into York City as well. Like, so that's always sort of been a situation that's fascinated me. The fact that I just cannot seem to get it right with owners. I'm going to sort of try and sell the Eredivisie to you, because I think that is a massively underrated league, and I'd love to sort of hopefully even convince one or two people to book a trip to Holland or the Netherlands and sort of go to see a couple of games in the Eredivisie, because I honestly think it's worth it. And there's loads more to come. Like, it's going to be a busy summer for the channel. Obviously, next month the pre-season friendlies will start. Then the month after the season starts proper. So good times ahead. And that is that for this video. And I'll be back at some point with a video that I'm sort of calling the Rise, Fall and Rise Again of Gateshead FC. So looking forward to sharing that one with you. But until then, that might be at some point this week, but at the latest it'll be by the end of next week. But until whenever, take care, cheers for watching, and I'll see you later. Up the heat.